Chris here, and this is a comparison, probably not very fair because we're talking about a phone with a Snapdragon 855 Plus, that's the Realme X2 Pro, up against a Snapdragon 730G and the Xiaomi Mi Note 10. But a lot of you have been asking for this video, so I'm going to go over other things like the build quality, the cameras, the displays, and battery life of these two. It's just going to be a quick comparison to see which one is better at what, and that might help some of you out there if the price does eventually drop of Xiaomi's Mi Note 10 on which one you should get, which is best for your needs. So first up, let's have a look at the screen. So we've got a 6.47 inch screen on the Xiaomi Mi Note 10, which is on the left here. They're both AMOLED panels, and then a 6.5 inch on the X2 Pro. Now maximum brightness on the X2 Pro is better. It tops out at 1000 nits, and we have 600 nits on the Mi Note 10. Now the Mi Note 10 also has a curved display, and this is down to personal preference here, but I actually prefer having the flat screen. It's also a 90 Hz screen. We've just got the standard 60 on the Mi Note 10. So before I get on to looking at the build quality, a very quick face unlocking test here. So tap the power buttons and you can see that was actually similar, the speed. Maybe definitely that time quicker on the X2 Pro as expected with the faster Snapdragon 855 Plus. It's not exactly really fair there. Fingerprint readers, I found that the Xiaomi can be a little bit slower at times. Again, to be expected with the slower chip. You can see that was very quick with the X2 Pro. Happens to have one of the fastest optical in-screen fingerprint readers around at the time of this video, at least for me with all the phones I have tested there. Now in terms of build, I have to give the Xiaomi here the win for the build quality. I find it's just a little better, higher quality. Now both of these are heavy phones. So this one's 202 grams, the Realme X2 Pro, versus about 210 here. So only 8 grams heavier, the Xiaomi Mi Note 10. Now they've both got 3.5mm headphone jacks down on the bottom, as you can see right here. And the output of both of them, in terms of audio, I'll do a speaker test as well, I find to be almost the same. The Xiaomi is probably slightly better in terms of 3.5mm output there. So I have to give them the win for the jack output at least. But for the speakers, as you'll hear, the Realme X2 Pro does have dual speakers. We've only got the single downward firing one on this. So up the top, there's also a difference here that the Xiaomi, if you need the IR transmitter, it's got the IR transmitter here. So if you want to control your TV and air conditioning and whatnot, then of course that is the only option you've got with both of these. Both of them, the cameras do protrude. It sticks out a little bit more, you can see here on the Xiaomi. All right, and I don't particularly like, well, the location of it is okay, but I prefer it actually to be in the middle because when you sit it down on a table, it rocks around a lot more, the Xiaomi there, but that's just a minor little nuisance. Now the buttons on both feel good, both made out of metal. Both of these have Gorilla Glass 5 front and back on them, and metal frames around the outside. So no plastic used here, which Realme does commonly use in some of their cheaper phones, but we've got metal on both of them. The curved edges as well in hand give the Xiaomi a better feel, and I just find overall that, as mentioned, it does have a slightly better build quality, so the win there would go to Xiaomi for the build. Now for cameras, this one's very easy. Make sure you check out my camera comparison between these two, but it's the Xiaomi Mi Note 10 that pulls ahead with the best cameras and of course the wider range of cameras. We've got 5 times zoom and the Realme doesn't have that. It's got 2 times, both the 2-time cameras, and then I found the ultra-wide is definitely superior on the Mi Note 10. Image stabilization, even in video as well, is better on the Mi Note 10 because it's got 4-axis optical image stabilization, whereas the Realme is a fixed 64GB sensor. It doesn't have optical image stabilization, only electronic, and definitely winner there with selfies as well, the Mi Note 10. The only area where sometimes in my comparison, the Realme X2 Pro pulled ahead was some daytime shots capturing more detail and less clipping with bright colors, for example, flowers. And then of course when it comes to benchmarks here, this is Antutu version 8, no competition. Then of course the Snapdragon 855 in the X2 Pro is going to be way faster. You can see it's over twice the speed if you look at these synthetic benchmarks here, especially the GPU that really pulls right ahead. So it's like comparing a 1600 4-cylinder up against a 5-litre V8. This isn't fair, but this is just for reference. And there is also a huge difference in the internal storage speeds here, okay? So yes, UFS 3 that I've got In the X2 Pro, way quicker. The base model, however, starts out with only 64 gigabytes of UFS 2 storage, but it's in dual channel on the X2 Pro, whereas on the Xiaomi, it's UFS 2.1, but just single channel. However, you get 128 gigabytes, which is good. That's a much better base capacity to have. And both of these, remember, they lack micro SD card support, so you cannot expand the storage, sadly. And yes, also the wireless speed, big difference here. You get almost double on the X2 Pro. It can also use both networks, so you can use 2.4 gigahertz band and then wireless AC 5 gigahertz, both at the same time, to achieve some very good download speeds. But again, this is to be expected, not fair comparing flagship to mid-range chips. Now, I won't do any speed tests here with the UIs. You either like ColorOS or you hate it, or the same for MIUI. Now, I personally prefer MIUI over ColorOS. I think it's slightly better in terms of customization features and what you've got. But if, of course, you want the fastest here and the 90 Hertz, then the UI in the X2 Pro, hands down, is just so much quicker. Again, this is, of course, not fair. It's different. But we're just doing a general comparison here for those that are undecided between which model you want to get. Now, battery performance, a bit of a surprise here because I would have expected the Mi Note 10 to pull ahead with its much larger battery capacity, but it doesn't. This is really unusual. So similar kind of use here, I noticed that the battery life is actually better on the X2 Pro, that can achieve almost 11 hours of screen on time with my continual gaming tests, YouTube, and just using it the whole time. And you'll see that for me, the Xiaomi is getting around 9 to 10 hours, which in itself is very good. But taking in consideration the battery capacity it has, I feel it should be better. So some more optimizations needed on that one, which in the future should have better battery life than the X2 Pro. So for audio quality, I find that the 3.5mm headphone jack is actually better on the Xiaomi, outputs slightly better quality to my ears. And then when it comes to your ringtones, they're similar, both are loud, you can hear them, it's fine. Signal reception with voice calls is good as well. I have to give the earpiece quality though to the voice calls the win on the X2 Pro. I just think it sounds a bit better. It's a little bit more richer, the tones you get through it. And let's have a listen now to the loudspeakers. So we've got dual loudspeakers on the X2 Pro, and for that reason, but not just that reason, they're actually just come out a little bit better sounding as well. I have to give it the win for loudspeakers there, and a little bit more immersive in gaming too, and you've got less chance of blocking just that single speaker. So the Xiaomi just has the speaker here, and I'll give you a sample of both of them. I mean, the Xiaomi does sound good for just a single loudspeaker, but let's have a listen. So it's loud, it's clear, no distortion with a good amount of bass, and here is the X2 Pro. Also no distortion, but it is slightly louder, and as mentioned, we've got that second loudspeaker in the earpiece. So Captain Obvious here again, that yes, gaming performance, if you want the best and gaming is important to you, that you're getting the best absolute FPS, then you go for the X2 Pro, of course, with the faster chip. Okay guys, so that was really quite a straightforward video, and a lot of you were still asking for it. I know it's not completely fair, but imagine in the future, these are both priced about the same if Xiaomi ends up dropping the price, which I believe they're gonna have to do. So for the best cameras, for selfies, for the best video stabilization, Mi Note 10 Pro. I only noticed this with some of the daylight stills in my camera comparison for both of these. Check the link in the description as well for that if you want to see that video. That sometimes the X2 Pro, at least with the main cameras, would come out on top with daylight photos, just being a little bit sharper, capturing more details, especially when you crop in. And the rear camera, just the rear camera, being a little bit more color accurate in terms of some of the photos. There was a neon sign in low light that came out purple with the Xiaomi, but it should be blue, and it came out blue with the Realme X2 Pro. But the front-facing camera wasn't that color accurate at all. Because one of those photos where I compared both of these head to head, my face was purple on the X2 Pro, and it was natural looking, at least with the Xiaomi here. So for cameras, hands down, Mi Note 10. For the price, of course, you want the cheaper phone, you get the X2 Pro. For the faster performance, faster gaming, and surprisingly, better battery life too, even at 90 Hertz. on the X2 Pro. Something's up with Xiaomi's battery life performance. MIUI 11 is just horribly optimized at the moment. Standby drain is quite poor, and you do see some lags and stutters that I've seen with another phone running the Snapdragon 730 that shouldn't be happening. So a lot of optimization needed on Xiaomi's behalf. This is a much better optimized ROM, a little bit smoother, and of course the much more potent, powerful chipset is going to make it lots better and smoother, and especially for gaming. So there we go. Those are the key differences. Not exactly a fair comparison. It's not meant to be, because we are comparing basically a Ferrari up against a Mini Cooper here, and that's why things are different. But the build quality too as well. On the Xiaomi, this has a much better build, higher quality. Does that warrant the price tag of being 150 euros more? Definitely not. So that's why I say that Xiaomi's price is going to have to drop on this one here to compete with the likes of these other phones. So thank you so much for watching this comparison here. Do check my reviews of the X2 Pro and the Mi Note 10 for a lot more details. I go into way more depth with both of those. And I do hope to see you back in the channel. Bye for now.